what's going on, everybody? This is JohnJake Baseball on the mic here, coming at you with some early September USBL action. We are getting ready to wrap up season number 2. We're gonna do that in these next few episodes. But in the meantime, we got a good set of games for you guys. Got about a half dozen games for you guys between box scores and actual gameplay. Should be a good one, so make sure you go ahead, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you have to be brand new, especially if you like huge home runs like the one that Bryson Stott just threw out there into the world. And the Washington Senators will go ahead and take a 2-0 lead here early, as we will end up seeing the Silver Slugger Award winner at first base come up to the plate in Pete Alonso, and he is certainly living up to that expectation. He ends up getting a double. Although that being said, what will happen is that he will actually end up being stranded at second base. But that being said, they are off to a hot start. We'll see if the Denver Bald Eagles can go ahead and respond here as Hunter Renfroe sends one out into left field, and all of a sudden this game is officially tied up. 22nd home run of the season for Hunter Renfroe. And how about this? He could be a nice little piece for the Denver Bald Eagles, as Hunter Renfroe is somebody that was acquired in the Sean Murphy trade. Sean Murphy did end up getting traded to the Philadelphia Patriots, and Hunter Renfroe is the main piece of that deal, along with a catcher prospect. And there he was, tying this game up at 2. Could potentially give his guys the lead, as he's going to end up crossing home plate. And hey, man, these Denver Bald Eagles, they may be in a rebuilding state as of right now, but they certainly are not going to give up just yet. They have a 3-2 lead right now, although that will not end up being lasted long, as seems like we had some miscommunication, not the smoothest double play routine it ended up being. So only one out there, and Washington does end up retaking the lead anyways. So this thing is still all tied up at 3 apiece. Pete Alonso, he's back at it again with the Wine Vans. It's all tied up now. Bases loaded too. And the first pitch that Tyler Anderson's going to throw is going to end up being costly, as it's deep in the center field. It's going to carry all the way to the wall, and it's going to be gone. How about that? A grand slam for Pete Alonso. And that's going to make it 7-3, but they're not even done yet. JT Martinez, he's also going to send one out into center field. And that's going to be the 30th home run of the season. So an 8-3 lead for the Washington Senators. As now we will go ahead. We'll see if Denver can get themselves out of this little hole that they did end up building for themselves. As Kurt Caselli comes up to the plate, he's going to send one out. Full count. It's deep, and it's a no-doubter as well. Solo shot for Kurt Caselli, and it is considered the 11th home run of the season for him. So now just a 4-run deficit for Denver, as Marco Alaniz, he might be stretching this out to a double. Almost was a fantastic dive and grab, but just mistimed it by just a little bit. And now things could get a little bit interesting. Austin Meadows comes up to the plate. Young player, batting .305 as of right now. We'll see what the man's got. Benninger coming with the 3-1 delivery. The pitch out in the right field. It's got some heat to it, and it's gone. A line drive shot that also ends up leaving the stadium. And here we go, baby. Just a 3-run lead all of a sudden. So let's go. Actually, 2-run lead. My apologies. I cannot do math whatsoever. It's only a 2-run deficit now for Denver, as Ronaldo Lopez, he might be able to get the last out, or he's going to give up yet another home run. Austin Hayes, 21st home run of the season for him. And how about that, man? This thing is just a one-run game. And Denver, man, they're looking to go ahead and make a statement here, showing that they have a bright future ahead of them. But 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Here comes Austin Meadows. He had that 2-run home run back in the bottom of the 5th. We'll see if he can go back-to-back like a Drake song. Here comes the 3-2 pitch from Juan Sanchez. And that's going to be a rocket out in the right field. And it's going to be gone. Solo shot this time around. And Austin Meadows, with the 20th home run of the season, makes it a tied ball game. Hunter Renfroe cannot give them the lead, though. And yo, how about that? This game is all tied up at 8 apiece. And it's all up to this Denver bullpen to see if they can go ahead, turn it around, and see if they can make some things shake here. Kevin Grinkle is going to come in here to be the reliever in the top of the 8th inning, but he's having a hard time getting outs. This is his 3rd batter, hasn't gotten anybody out, and worst of all, already has allowed 2 runs. So we will see Kevin Ginkel being pulled rather quickly, and then they give the ball off to Brett Martin. 3.69 ERA thus far on the season. Not a bad player by any means, but he will not be able to get this hold, as well as he ends up giving yet another home run, this time to David Fletcher. It's a 16th one of the season, and a big one at that as well, because right now we're looking at a 4-run lead here, and we're starting to run a little bit low on baseball here in the top of the 8th inning. Only got like 2 innings left to play, as Bryson Stott is going to be able to go ahead and get himself to work now. Full count. Gleyber Torres still at the plate, and he's going to send one out in the right field, and it's going to be absolutely no doubt that this ball is going to be fair. It ends up being the 28th home run of the season for him. So, a disastrous inning for the Denver Bald Eagles, doing all of that work just to go ahead and give it up, in a really big way as well. We will end up seeing the final out eventually, but man, oh man. Oh, that is really not what you want to see whatsoever. So really, one last big chance here for Denver to maybe try to go ahead. Actually, they got 2 more shots at it. 6 outs. But you got to get 6 runs here as well. And that's assuming you don't give up anything in the top of the 9th inning. And right now, not so good. Austin Hayes will end up striking out. So now that will bring up Bobby Bradley, who is trying to make sure that he doesn't get on the interstate right now. He's batting .209 as of right now. But how about this for a solo shot? This comes at a really crucial time for Denver to help narrow this gap. It's the 14th home run for Bobby Bradley. So in response, the Washington Senators are going to go ahead and go to the bullpen 14-9, and we'll be able to go ahead and get that last out. But Bobby Bradley certainly going to go ahead and try to make things interesting, but it will end up being too late, as Aaron Loop does get the multi-inning save eventually, as Austin Meadows does end up going ahead and doing some Lindo shopping. He will end up striking out, and that will end the game. The Washington Senators will win this game to make sure they stay alive in the NL East division race. They win this one by a final score of 14-9. So how about this to get things started in terms of box scores in this episode? The Charlotte Cougars, who are trying to keep their slim playoff hopes alive, they get some big help. They catch up on the Indianapolis Indians, and doing so in a really big way, getting 12 runs in the first 3 innings of this ball game. They were able to cruise to a nice, comfortable victory, despite the fact that Indianapolis, they did go on a 6-0 run in the last couple innings of this game. try to make things interesting, but the gap was just too big at that point. So Marcell Ozuna does get named player of the game in this one. 3 for 3, a home run and a double. Josh James is awarded with a win, and Caleb Barger just had a really tough day today. 7 hits, no strikeouts, 2 walks, and 8 earned runs in just 1 inning of action. It was a really tough one to watch. But let's go ahead and take a look at some intense wild card action here in the AL wild card. We got the San Antonio Outlaws taking on the Las Vegas Lounge Wizards. Now, these two teams, they've been pretty neck and neck over the course of the entire year. And this game could very well potentially decide who ends up going to the wild card game at the end of the year. Both teams having a really tough time chasing the Honolulu Islanders, but we will see the Las Vegas Lounge Wizards end up taking first blood as Miguel Sano hits an RBI double out to right center field to make this 1-0, and then we will also see yet another run score. And so Las Vegas, they do end up coming through 2-0 affair. And they're not even done yet. Marwin Gonzalez, he's going to get involved in the action as well. And that will go ahead and move runners into scoring position. That makes it 2nd and 3rd. Still nobody out either way. And Kyle Tucker with a really big chance to go ahead and bring somebody home. And he will do just that. Action was being forced at first base. And Las Vegas will extend their lead even more. It makes it a 3-0 game. Not to mention, we will end up seeing none other than Christian Walker come up to the plate here. 1 for 1 so far on the day. He's going to get a hold of one as well. Third baseman cannot handle the heat. And Las Vegas gets another run on the board. And that will go ahead and make it a 4-0 game. Aaron Savall actually gets pulled during this inning too. That's the shocking part. So Steven Matz comes to the game. He's got a tough challenge in Cody Bellinger. But that being said, gonna get a little bit of love from the ump. Did not believe in the check swing. So the inning ends. But at some points, San Antonio's got to come through. They got to get some runs on the board if they want to, help themselves out in this wild card race. And that will certainly get them going. Potentially a double on the way. Throw into second base and ends up being safe in the process. Teoscar Hernandez with his 21st double of the season. And so, Las Vegas, they get to go to the bullpen. They will bring out Rick Porcello. And that will surprisingly, that could bring in a run. Hang on now. It's got to throw it home. He's in time. Wow. What a just risky move to get home. But that's how San Antonio does end up finding themselves out of this, at least getting the goose egg off the board. But that being said, the good vibes will not last long for San Antonio. Another double here in the bottom of the 7th inning, courtesy of Cody Bellinger. And he won't be sticking around for long as Miguel Sano, he's 1 for 3. He had that big hit in the bottom of the 1st inning. Gonna have another big hit as well. It's going to leave the ballpark. And that will end up actually being the dagger as Las Vegas ends up winning a huge game here in the month of September. They end up defeating the San Antonio Outlaws by a final score of 6-1. And so, what a great performance for Vegas. Meanwhile, out in the NL East, we'll take a look at the Philadelphia Patriots, who are also trying to keep chase with the Washington Senators, who we did end up seeing win earlier in this episode. They'll be taking on a New Orleans Kings squad who is in a rebuilding phase, and they kind of forced themselves into a rebuilding phase when they were unable to find a way to sign both Jordan Alvarez, and they also failed to re-sign Rhys Hopkins. They're both on different teams, and they were big free agent losses for New Orleans, and it's starting to show now here in the second half of the season where they have really started to tail off in the month of August, in this early part of September as well. But that being said, the guys that are on this current New Orleans roster right now, they still have quite a bit of fight left in them. So we'll see if they can get an upset on Philadelphia and maybe have some impact on the current playoff race, as Bryce Harper is able to track that thing down into the outfield, but maybe not the best of ideas to go ahead and make that catch, because that ball was so deep that even with Bryce Harper's arm, he was not able to get that out at home. So New Orleans was able to score off of that, but it would be the only run that New Orleans will end up scoring. So this thing is all tied up at 1 apiece. Not too much hitting going on right now. Both teams combining for just 3 hits right now. But Sean Murphy is going to contribute to that, though. Here he is thriving in Philadelphia as he's able to hit that ball far enough into the outfield, where the runner is able to advance from first to third. As that brings up Jesus Aguilar, who has one job: try to go ahead and see if he can get that ball out there deep enough, so that will bring in yet another run. And it will end up doing just that. So Philadelphia, at least for the time being, does have a 2-1 lead. But we'll see how much longer that lasts as we jump into the top of the 5th inning now. Yerson Urazi, who hits a nice little golf swing in the left field. This could be a little bit of trouble. Out the wall, and it cannot stay in the ballpark. Yerson Urazi with only his 2nd home run of the entire season. He has to be a late season call-up, a September call-up. Because I never heard of that guy before this episode. If I'm going to be honest with you, I'm just being real with y'all right now. But that being said, the day is over for Max Fry. We're going to end up seeing George Urias come into this game, as he'll face off against Manuel Margate. 1-2 count so far on the day, but dealing with a full count. We'll see who ends up winning, and this one's going to go to Manuel Margate. As Margate, he's going to round first, get himself to second base, and is going to settle in nicely, put himself in the scoring position. But unfortunately for his teammates, they cannot find a way to bring him home. So now here comes Mike Folinsky. As he is out here, he is going to settle in for Jose Barrios. He doesn't make it to the 5-inning mark either. Even if he did, he would not qualify for the win. So this one is all on the bullpen, as this ball is deep in the right center field, and it's going to be gone. And we see another home run in this game. George Springer, 28th home run of the season. And so Philadelphia, they now have a nice 2-run lead. We'll see if they can maintain it, as Mark Griffith comes to the plate here. 1-1 count. The pitch, delivery. The ball is out into left center field. Is this also going to leave the ballpark? No, but Mark Griffith is going to settle in at second base using that 69 speed. Nice, by the way. And it's going to be the 6th double for Mark Griffith. As now, Luis Arias, he's been struggling on the day. 0 for 3 in this entire game, but has a chance to get somebody home, and will end up doing just that. And now it's simply down to just a 1-run game. New Orleans refusing to give up. Alejandro Cepeda is going to come in here and try to close things out, make sure that this lead is preserved for Philadelphia. 1-1 count. Santana out into right field. It's deep. Bryce Harper going to get a handle on it quickly. Is he going to get it in time? He will do so in order to save the run. And what ends up happening here in the process is that we do end up seeing that run being preserved because of it. So Bryce Harper's, playing deep, playing a big role in making sure this lead is preserved for now. But New Orleans, they certainly are knocking at the door, as that base hit out in the center field gets runners into the corners. Couple batters later, Yerson Urazi trying to run the double play and can only manage to get one. New Orleans officially ties this thing up at 4 apiece, as Philadelphia will end up calling Cody Wheatley to the bullpen, dealing with some trouble. Margate out on the left field. Is this also going to make it to the wall? No, it's going to end up being an out just right outside of the warning track. And we jump into the 8th inning. And you got to give New Orleans credit. They certainly are fighting. They just need some offensive pieces back in here, because they have struggled with the pieces at times. And we're certainly seeing that here. We'll see if they can get enough offense generated in order to go ahead and make sure that they win this game. But first, they got to deal with Bryce Harper. 0 for 2 on the day, surprisingly. Been quiet at the plate, but that will not last long, though, as Bryce Harper sent this one to right field, and it's going to be gone. 31st home run of the season for Bryce Harper. And more importantly so, we will see Philadelphia end up with a 5-4 lead. Sean Murphy even going to get involved. Got to make sure you get a little bit of insurance. And if there was a little bit more speed on the base path, Sean Murphy might have himself an RBI. He still could, as that run somehow gets across. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. able to slide in there like a girl's DMs on Instagram. And it makes it 6-4. Sean Murphy, we're going to make it 7-4. Will do just that, but getting a little bit too greedy. So it could have been an even bigger for Philadelphia, but it doesn't end up killing them in the end, though, as the Patriots will end up taking care of business once again. And they will win this game by a final score of 7-4. So Philadelphia, what they do end up doing, they get that win that they are certainly looking for in order to keep chase in the NL East against the Washington Senators. So we started the beginning of this episode with a box score from the Indianapolis Indians and Charlotte Cougars. And we're also going to get that towards the end here, as the Boston Quakers just took the Houston Hurricanes out to the woodshed. Been a disappointing year for Houston, and yet Boston shows that they are a serious contender, as they are really starting to put things together here in the month of September. They beat Houston 17-3 off of 20 hits, led by Mookie Betts, 3 for 6, a home run, and even 2 doubles to show for it as well. Wilson Gilbert even got the win, despite the fact he came in as kind of like a long reliever. It was kind of a wonky game, but he did end up pitching 5 innings and was really good in those 5 innings as well. Brad Keller, on the other hand, really struggled in this one. Didn't even survive the first couple of innings, and it just really set the tone for Houston in this game as they continue their spiral. Another disappointing year really for Houston in season number 2, after almost making the World Series back in season number 1. So for the last game that I had planned for you guys in this episode, we have the Baltimore Stone Crabs taking on the New York Knights, and New York surprisingly in a rebuilding state as well, while the Baltimore Stone Crabs, they are trying to chase a wild card spot. Last year they were tied with the Seattle Pilots in season 1 before getting absolutely eliminated. So we'll see if Baltimore can find themselves back into the playoffs, as Manny Machado does get them off right. A double out to left field, gets runners out into scoring position, and sets up an RBI opportunity for Will Myers, who leads the team in RBIs so far this season. He's currently have 91 RBIs on the year, 23 homers, a batting average around 270. He's been a solid 4-hitter, that's for sure. As now, Will Myers with the delivery, he's going to go ahead and he's going to ground himself out to first. But because that ball was hit so hard, it will still end up bringing a run home for Baltimore. as now Danny Henderson will be finding himself at the plate. He's been doing pretty good this year himself. Not the biggest power hitter, only 21 homers and 60 ribbies, but he is batting close to 300, so a nice contact hitter in the middle of the lineup. We're seeing it here as Henderson might get 22, and he does. 2-run shot for Danny Henderson, and it will end up giving the Baltimore Stone Crabs a 3-0 lead. But then how about going from 3-0 all the way to 4-0 as Kyle Isbell, he's also going to hit a nice home run out into right field. So Aaron Sledger's got to come in, and we'll see if he can do anything better as Adam Eden is going to take a pitch inside. Will end up giving up a stolen base. That's Barry Casado with his 39th stolen base of the season, but he will end up being stranded there at second base. Baltimore will not be able to do any more damage in the top of the 5th inning, but things could be a little bit more different in the top of the 6th inning as Will Myers gets into for the double as well. So he gets himself an RBI. He gets himself a double as well. So that will bring up Didi Gregorius. He's going to go ahead, hit this one out into right field, and it's going to leave the ballpark as well. And Baltimore continues to build themselves a lead. Now a 6-0 affair. But we're also going to get a little bit of a custom prospect to work. Billy Ray, he was called up for the month of September at the very least. He actually has worked himself into the top 50 prospects list, so that's really cool to see. But Billy Ray will end up striking out there, but Mike Moustakas, he'll still find a way to make sure that runs get across here in the bottom of the 6th inning, as Mike Moustakas gets home run number 21 on the year. Speaking of guys that are getting called up, Tim Cate, he is making just his 2nd appearance of this entire season. He was also called up here, for this last month of the regular season, as we will end up seeing Tim Cate getting the Baltimore Stone Crabs out of this inning. It's just a 6-2 game. But here comes the New York Knights as Billy Ray going to try to get his first hit of the day. Actually having a solid year, with the opportunity he's been given. 5 for 15, batting average over 300. And he'll also get his very first hit of this game. It ends up being a single. So Billy Ray ends up going 6 for 16 up to this point. A good year. But Billy Ray and company will end up in a double play. So you get Nolan Arenado, who you already know is a stud, but hasn't necessarily shown it. Down year for him. Less than 50 RBIs to show for it. 250 batting average. Definitely, one of the best players in baseball for sure, from an overall perspective, but not necessarily producing like someone that would have those, those kinds of abilities. But Nolan Arenado will get things going here in the bottom of the 8th inning, as Arenado will end up with a double. So that will help his guys out a little bit as Baltimore calls out Paul Sewald into the game. It's his 77th appearance of this season. Been getting a lot of things going. Is now 6-2 game. Going to go ahead, hit things out into right center field. And Nolan Arenado, he's going to be able to find himself home. And New York will end up getting their 3rd run on the board. But is it also going to be too little too late? Jonathan Hernandez comes in with the save opportunity. 38 for 46, by the way, on save opportunities. Looking for his 39th save of the season. We'll see if Dansby Swanson can stop it, but unfortunately, he does end up grounding out to the 3rd baseman. And Baltimore, they get what they need. They get a big win against the New York Knights in order to stay active in the wild card race over in the American League. They win this one by a score of 6-3. So as we go ahead and get into roughly the last 20 to 25 games left in this season, we're starting to get a little bit more clarity with how things are shaking out in terms of what the standings are looking like as of right now. So starting with the American League East. Right now, the Boston Quakers, their big lead or big win over Houston does propel them to a slightly bigger lead, although Baltimore is staying at least at arm's length. They're now currently 5 games back in the American League East. It's going to be a close one, I think. Baltimore really trying what they can to make a run, but that 3-game losing streak, after we did a little bit of simulating, that's certainly not going to help as well. Even Atlanta, who were the biggest sellers at the USBL trade day, they aren't mathematically eliminated. It's a long shot for them to win the division, yes, but at the same time, I can't help but think that Atlanta, they did a lot better. I don't know what happened in that first half. If it wasn't for that slow first half start, Atlanta would certainly be in this thing right now as well. And even teams like New York, I mean, we saw a little bit of Billy Ray, a custom prospect in here as well. So even if you're not really in the playoff hunt, there's still a lot of value for these teams as they get a better look at what they got going in their farm system. But look at this race in the American League Central. It's going to get tight. It's going to be a photo finish, I feel like. Right now, the Minnesota Ducks, they are still on top right now, 82-55 record, and it is the second best record in the American League. But the Chicago Freeze, the defending World Series champions, are still out here. They're on a chase for that division crown, and they narrowed the gap. Just a game and a half back with 25 games, roughly 25 games left to be played. It's going to be a really close one. Pittsburgh is basically out of it. So is Columbus and Nashville in terms of division race. We'll have to see how Pittsburgh's doing in the wild card, but this is a 2-team race for the AL Central. Meanwhile, something that is particularly obvious to this point right now, Honolulu, they are basically a lock to win this division. They'll probably be the first ones to clinch in the American League at the very least. They got a 14-game lead over second place right now with less than, about 25 games left to play, roughly. And, it's a really hard to blow a 14-game lead, right? It's extremely hard to do that over 25 games. You need a massive collapse, and I don't think that's going to happen with this Honolulu squad. I think that move from San Jose to Honolulu maybe have done something special. I don't know exactly what happened, but it's working for them. Las Vegas and San Antonio, I mean, they may be out of the division race, but they're certainly in that wild card hunt for sure. And speaking of the wild card, while Chicago has that first wild card spot pretty locked down, look at this race in the American League wild card. Right now, a 2-way tie for second place. We got Las Vegas and the Pittsburgh Force, both tied right now with a 71-65 record. Now, we saw a 2-way tie last year between Baltimore and Seattle for that second wild card spot, and so Seattle did make it to the playoffs off of that after beating Baltimore in game 163. But that's certainly something really interesting to see. San Antonio, they are just a half game back as well. Baltimore is just 3 games back. The Columbus Jets are also 3.5 games back. Shoot, even the Atlanta Barons and the Houston Hurricanes are technically not eliminated yet. They still have a decent shot if they can get hot here, and both of them have been hot as of late to be in this spot. There's still a shot for them to get in. No one has technically been eliminated as of yet, so some good races in the American League for sure. And so now we go into the National League, and the National League East is getting a little bit interesting. Washington Senators, they've been a pleasant surprise this season. That acquisition of guys like not necessarily Pete Alonso was a good addition. Grayson Torres has been a good addition, and it's been really helping out this offense for sure, and that's really proven dividends. Philadelphia Patriots, they're 3.5 games out. You can't count them out. They had the best record in the National League last year. They're extremely talented at home. Probably one of the best home field advantages in all of baseball. But look at the Charlotte Cougars. They're running a 10-game winning streak. You don't see winning streaks that long usually in the USBL. They were 61 and 66 when this episode first started, but that win versus Indianapolis must have really sparked them. They have not lost since, and they're working their way towards that fringe contention for the division, and it's going to certainly help them out in a wild card scenario. New Orleans and Jacksonville, though, basically out of it. Jacksonville probably will be eliminated here officially rather shortly. So then in the National League Central, speaking of Indianapolis, they still have a very slight lead in the division right now. They are currently tied right now with the Aurora Lightning. They share a pretty similar record right now. Milwaukee Bears 2.5 games back, and then even the Memphis Bobcats and the Louisville Colonials, both of those squads are still in as well. They can make a run if they can just get hot here in the last couple of weeks. So everyone in this division still has a shot at it. It's going to be interesting to see who ends up coming out on top. Definitely something to watch out for as well. And then finally in the National League West, we are starting to see the San Francisco Seals start to pull away a little bit here. And as of right now, San Francisco currently with an 81 and 56 record. Really, they're getting hot right now and pulling away from Los Angeles, who is starting to sputter a little bit, but they're still 5 games out. It's not done yet. But that being said, Phoenix Firebirds probably not in division contention. Definitely a pretty sour thing because they were the best team on paper. Yet here they are 2 games under 500. They've been a massive disappointment this season. Then we also see the Denver Bald Eagles. They are eliminated from division contention officially. No surprises here. They're like 30 games back from San Francisco. It's a foregone conclusion. It's mathematically impossible now. Denver also struggling in the division, 18 and 42. So that's a massive yikes right there. But, I mean, it is what it is. And so that takes us to the National League Wild Card. Right now, it seems like we have 2 distinct teams. You got Los Angeles, and you also have Philadelphia in a playoff game. Now, that would be a fantastic game to watch for sure. But that being said, there's still some teams that got a shot at this thing. Charlotte has worked into just 5 games back thanks to that 10-game winning streak. They have their playoff hopes alive still. Indianapolis and Aurora, if they don't win their respective division, they're both 5 games out of the wild card. So for these NL Central teams right now, it's essentially turned into a division or bust situation. You don't want to rely on maybe LA or Philadelphia to get cold towards the end because it might not happen. It certainly may not happen. Phoenix, they're a fringe playoff contender at this point. 8.5 games back, but 19 games away from being eliminated. It's going to be tough for Phoenix to work its way back, but you never know under these circumstances. So definitely a lot of things to watch out for as we go ahead and wrap this episode up. I hope you've been enjoying the content, by the way, and if you are, make sure you go ahead, smash that like button, hit subscribe as well if you have to be brand new to the channel, as next episode we will wrap up Season 2, the regular season for the USBL, as we get closer to playoff action. And that October baseball, oh man, does it hit different. So with that being said, this is JohnJake Baseball on the mic, signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.
I love you, Poppy.